This is the friendliest face to ever grace a television screen. This is the beautiful, sparkly, blue-eyed Bobby Dan Davis Blocker, born December 10th, 1928, to Ora Shack Blocker and Mary Blocker Nee Davis. He had one sister. He attended the Texas Military Institute as a young man, and eventually ended up going to university, two universities. He went to Hardin-Simmons University and Sul Ross State University, where he played football. If anybody was built for football, it was Dan Blocker. He earned some money as a student. He was a rodeo performer and a bouncer. He graduated in 1950 with a master's degree in dramatic arts and was ready to start his life, but Uncle Sam had different ideas for Dan Blocker, and he was drafted in 1951. And he went to Korea, where he distinguished himself and was given many accommodations, but most importantly, he was awarded the Purple Heart. So thank you for your service, Bobby Dan Davis Blocker. So he came home in 1952 and was reunited with his college sweetheart, Delphia Parker, and they were married in 1953. There she is. And then they could start their life together. So Dan was a teacher. He taught high school in Texas, and then he taught 6th grade in New Mexico. Boy, I would have loved to have been in that 6th grade class, that's for sure. When about 1956-ish, he decided, you know, I better put my master's degree in dramatic art where my mouth is. So he and his young family moved to Los Angeles. I believe David was a baby at the time. And he started getting work in the genre of the time, as we all know, Westerns. So he did Cheyenne and Cimarron City and Zorro and The Rifleman and David Dortort's Restless Gun. So David saw right there, there's my Eric Cartwright, and I believe he wrote the part of Hoss Cartwright for Dan Blocker in it. No one else was considered for the role. And in 1959, we were introduced to the sweetest, gentle giant, most genuine person you'd ever want to meet, Hoss Eric Cartwright. So the name Hoss is a nickname at Smoky Mountain for big man with a right pleasant way. It's introduced in the episode Inge, My Love, where his Uncle Gunnar is described as a Hoss. His mother, Inge Bergstrom, from Swedish descent. So that's a Hoss, lifting people. He seemed to do that when he was a kid, and he ended up doing it with his castmates. So funny. I think that's funny. So Hoss was the soul. I like to think of the Cartwright family as a body. Ben is the heart. Adam is the intellect and the brain. Little Joe is the spirit and the spunk. Hoss was the soul of that family. He was the mediator. Adam born in the north, Joe born in the south. He was born smack dab in the middle of the country. So he was the ref. He was the mediator. He rarely had conflict with his family members. A little bit of girl trouble, but rarely had conflict with his family members or his dad. And unlike Ben and Adam and Joe and Adam were always seemed like they were always in conflict. So Hoss was there to be the referee, really. He was sometimes thought of as dumb, but Hoss Cartwright was anything but dumb. He was insightful and wise. He was a very wise man. He knew exactly what to say at exactly the right time. Gullible and naive, okay, we'll go with that. There's a piece of music that they play. I call it the Hoss theme. It goes something like dum 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 da dum 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 da dum da dum dum. Well, when you heard that music, you knew to sit back and enjoy the ride, because little Joe was about to talk his brother into doing some escapade to make him money. And Hoss would do anything his little brother told him to do, like in the bank run or the flapjack eating contest or Old Sheba. But I'll tell you what, these two guys right here, Ben in the background, those two men, they loved each other. Hoss and Joe loved each other, but most importantly, Dan and Mike loved each other very much. They had chemistry that was off the charts. It's not something that you can practice or build. It is innate. And they were it. Those two boys, there was nothing better than watching them in a comedic episode. Haas was the vet of the family. If there was any problems with animals, if your horse needed to be shod, if it was lame, Haas was the man that you called upon to fix any animal. He was always bringing home dogs and puppies and things like that, which just made him more endearing. Loved food. I can totally relate to him with that. He loved, there was so many references to his massive appetite over the series. Hop Sing was his favorite person in the whole wide world. Great expressions. Where Dan came up with this character, nobody else talked like this. Dad gum this and dad burn that and doggone your ornery hide. I don't know. It was just made him so lovable. Talk a little bit about injuries, this being the most severe. In the episode The Dowry, there was a crash. If you watch the show, you'll see Adam and Haas galloping over a rocky crest, and Purnell's horse stumbled and he went flying, spraining his neck, and I guess Dan, trying to avoid the two downed, the animal and the actor, he went flying too and ended up breaking his collarbone and really hurting his shoulder. Other injuries, if anybody knows if Mike Landon has his stuntman card, please let me know. I was not able to find out. But if he didn't have it, he should have. Because that man threw himself across a room just about every week. I'm sure he had cuts and bruises, but if you're a professional stuntman, you do things safely and you know how to do it. Lorne, I haven't heard of any injuries to Lorne. Purnell, besides spraining his neck and having that crash, he had notoriously bad back. I think he, most notably in The Last Viking, he's in a lot of pain in that show. He can hardly walk. And I heard this story maybe 20 years ago of the Honor of Cochise. It was really Joe that was meant to sneak off and get water and have to be carried back. But because of Purnell's back issues, they switched it. Purnell was probably 175 pounds, 6 feet tall. And Mike was not 6 feet tall and 140 pounds soaking wet and managed to lift Purnell. And come to think of it, Adam would have never done that. He would have never snuck off and got water. No, he wouldn't have done that. Joe would have done that. So I kind of think that's true. So in his personal life, Dan Blocker was a very, very erudite-ish, intellectual, articulate man. When you see him interviewed, he's so unlike Haas. so away from Haas. It's unbelievable. And he was very involved in politics. He described himself as a liberal Democrat and did some campaigning. Lived in Switzerland. He wanted his children to have be exposed to more cultures, so his children went to school in Switzerland. He was a businessman. I think he started the Ponderosa restaurants, or was at least partners in it. He also, during the Bonanza times, he did a lot of guest spots, just like Lauren and Mike did. So there he is with Dean Martin and Goldie Hawn on Laugh-In. So very, very busy during those times. So before the 13th season, he was asked by an interviewer if he felt superstitious about number 13. He said, "Oh no, I don't think anything like that." He said he didn't think that Bonanza would go past 15 seasons because it was economically not feasible. It was an expensive show to make, and they had 12 seasons in the vault. They were just itching to syndicate that show. And over 60 years, I'm sure it has made them some bread. So he said that the 13th season he just thought it as another season. But unfortunately, before the season started, he went in for routine gallbladder surgery and developed a pulmonary embolism, a blood clot in his lung, and passed away at the age of 42. It was devastating. I just remember when it happened. I was like, what? This can't be true. And I'm sure, and his castmates were just devastated. David Canary said that the set was absolutely dismal. And it had been described previously by directors as a kindergarten. All the horseplay and the camaraderie and the practical joking. So when they returned to the 13th season, it was just horrible, they said. And Michael Landon had written a double episode to feature Hoss getting married, and it ended up being about Joe and Joe getting married and Joe expressing his love for his brother. And it's the first time in television history that a character had been referred to as deceased, passed away. And they even focus in on pictures of Dan on the dresser of little Joe's bedroom. So just all the grief that you see in those episodes is grief for Dan. And they said when the scenes were over, the crying just kept going. It was, I can't even imagine how. Oh, it's so tragic. So Dan left behind a lovely family, 4 children, Dan, Dirk, Dana, and Deborah. Dirk became an actor and Dave became a producer. So quite the family man was Dan Blocker. So tragic. This beautiful man, beautiful character. Who knows what he would have gone on to do? We can only guess. I'm going to leave you with this happy picture. It's my favorite picture of Dan. I think it speaks for itself. So, as always, thank you for joining me on Ponderosa North for the Love of Bonanza. That's my tribute to Dan Blocker, and we will see you next time. Bye.